Welcome back to the Hunt, Fish, Live podcast. I'm Dan, your host, and we are going to talk about my latest hunting adventure and a big buck encounter. Let's get into it. Well, I did not get out hunting this past weekend. My wife had work responsibilities to handle, and I was on daddy duty. It was kind of crappy out, cold, very cold on Saturday, and rainy, misty, warm yesterday on Sunday, but I did manage to get out the weekend before. Headed down to Northwest Indiana with Corey and Jeff. Jeff was tagged out already, so he just hung around for the weekend with us. We ended up actually talking to him on our way through town, and he wanted to come along, so we stopped and picked him up. We were not able to get out in the woods Friday evening after work. We didn't leave until probably 5 o'clock our time. So we were only able to get 3 hunts in last weekend, and they were worth it. Saturday morning, got up, headed out to one of my favorite spots. We call it, it's the second. It's along the north edge of our property, of the farm down there, and it's the second stand. It's close to where the deer all come out of the swampy wetland area and travel between there to bed, and they go through the cut bean field to the woods to find food for the day and whatever else they do. It's kind of between two bedding areas. There's a bedding area to the north of that stand. That's pretty thick that a lot of deer come from as well. So I felt like I was in a good spot. It's the same spot I had the buck encounter with. It's in the same spot I had the buck encounter with a few weeks ago, just before shooting time. So I was confident and feeling good about the morning hunt. It was bitterly cold that morning. I wasn't prepared for it. I forgot what it was like to be cold. I hadn't been cold, or I hadn't hunted in temperatures that cold yet. It was about 15 degrees, and I did not dress warm enough. I thought I dressed warm enough, but I quickly learned that money spent on good base layers is good money spent. So that's my goal for next year, not to get cold. I tend to get cold a lot. Ask my friends. It's kind of annoying, but that happens. So probably about 8 o'clock, a little after 8 o'clock in the morning Saturday, I had a group of does run through. They came out down where we have, to the east of me, where we have a trail camera. They were on trail camera, so I was ready. But I couldn't get them to stop or anything. I did have a muzzleloader tag. It was opening weekend of muzzleloader season down there, and they didn't stop. They ran past me probably 80 yards out into the field, and on they went. I did not see much after that. I saw a couple deer way far away in one of the other fields, probably a half mile away from me, in one of the other fields on the farm. So there was deer moving, but we had a southwest wind, and it was blowing right in my face, and it was cold, and it sucked. I couldn't get warm. Hand warmers didn't work. So I ended up getting down about 9:45 and headed back to the truck to warm up and get some breakfast. We hung out for the day, for the afternoon. Did some things around camp, hung out, told some stories, had some good breakfast food. Actually, we didn't make breakfast. We went to a place in town for breakfast. It was the first time going out for breakfast in a few years, actually. Well, to be honest, we didn't bring any food with us last weekend. We knew we had 2 dinners and a breakfast to take care of before we headed home on Sunday, and Corey and I we didn't bring any food. So out for breakfast it was after hunting. It was nice to have someone else cook, because I'm usually the one that cooks breakfast, and got a chance to relax and enjoy the meal without having to cook it first. After that, we what did we do? Oh, we just went back to the camper. I shot the muzzleloader to see if it was on. It was, and just get used to the gun. Glad I shot it though. It's got a pretty touchy trigger on it, so definitely different from what I'm used to. But yeah, the gun was dead on, so I felt confident if I saw something in the evening or Sunday morning that I would be able to get a shot and put it where I wanted it to go. I think we all took naps and headed out to the woods about 3 o'clock. And Jeff stayed back because he can't hunt. So we hung out. He said he was gonna have some beers and enjoy himself, and he did. He had the music cranked and a beer cracked as Corey and I were walking out of the field or out to the field. We made the half-mile hike across the field to our hunting blind. We sat together in a fence corner blind that we've built up over the past couple years, and it's in a great spot between two bean fields. We call one field the triangle field. It's a little triangle field. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's right next to the wetlands, and deer use the crossover right in front of the thing like crazy, and they use the triangle field like crazy too, as you'll find out coming up. We got settled in about 3:30. We only had till about 5:50, I think, Saturday to hunt because of daylight hours, and it went slow for the first probably until 5 o'clock. Had a little breeze. I got a little chilly, of course, so definitely making that change in base layers next year. Let's see. We saw a buck, or we saw 6 does crossing the field out in front of us, all the way in the tree line. So probably 400 yards out, between 400 and 500 yards out. Shortly after that, after they walked through, there was a buck that walked out, and Corey put the binoculars on and said it was a pretty good one. So we were hopeful they were gonna get into the triangle field and start feeding towards us. We spotted another buck in front of Jeff's stand that looked pretty decent, 350 yards out, and we rattled, snort wheezed, and grunted at him, threw the whole encyclopedia at him, and he did not want anything to do with us. He actually took off and ran into the woods with his tail up. So I don't know if the wind was swirling that way. The wind was coming out of the southwest, so it wasn't blowing at them, but sometimes that wind swirls in that corner pretty well. So who knows? A little later on, things got real interesting. There was these does that we saw earlier, and started working into the triangle field towards us. They got about 300 yards away, and all of a sudden, this buck comes through the weeds into the field, and he starts chasing this doe all over the place. And we're getting excited. My heart was going a million miles an hour, and I was ready. Corey was going to do some calling and try to get him to come our way, and then out popped a deer that we call Dan. He is injured. He's got a small body. Seeing him in person was kind of crazy. Tall, spindly antlers, and we would like to have gotten him out of the herd because he's hurt and doesn't look like he's doing too great, but that never happened. So, as this monster buck is pushing this doe towards us, I'm getting more excited. My legs are starting to shake, starting to breathe hard, and buck fever is setting in. We thought he was going to get closer. The closest he got was like 275, which is too far for me to take a shot with a muzzleloader. I'm not used to shooting anything at that distance, let alone a muzzleloader. So, it was about 5:30 at this point, and so it's starting to get dark. The sun had set, and he ended up chasing this doe around the small herd of does that was out there. There's probably 6 or 8 of them out there, and we noticed these 2 deer directly to our north along the tree line. One of them looks like a buck, and so we're like, all right, that's gonna happen. That tree line's about 250, 275 away from where we were sitting, so still pretty far. They ended up disappearing back into the woods. They probably got our wind for sure, but this giant buck was still working our way and chasing this doe all around, and they ended up turning around and going back the way they came from. The whole field ended up clearing. They weren't spooked or anything, but who knows what happened. As soon as that adrenaline dumped, and I got freezing cold, and it was a crazy experience. I'm glad that I got to experience that with Corey. It's always fun to sit in the woods with him or with anybody, just so you can experience something like that with somebody else is one of my favorite things. But I was super bummed that this deer didn't come closer. I really would have loved to shoot him. He was a giant, very thick, tall. Outside of his ears, he was a beautiful Indiana buck for sure. But it got dark. We took off and headed back to the camper. Headed out to dinner at one of our favorite restaurants and had a good time. Sunday morning, went out, did not see anything, but that some mornings go down there sometimes. There's always next time. I think I'm going back at the end of the month for the last weekend of bow season down there. It closes the first Sunday in January. So got a few weeks in between now and then. I am going up to my buddy Josh's in northern Michigan for a weekend hunt like we did last year. That should be fun as well. So we will see. I've got hope. I've got confidence, and I'm going to really do my best to put a deer in the back of the truck this year. So, makes me nervous just thinking about it. With deer seasons winding down in the next few weeks, it is the middle of December, and we have some ice to fish. Not currently around here. I'm in around in the Grand Rapids area, but I've been told and I've seen reports that people are ice fishing in Southwest Michigan, Southeast Michigan. There's a bunch of ice up north in the northern Michigan areas of Gaylord, Houghton Lake, Manistee areas. So it is time, my friends. Get your ice fishing stuff ready. We have a warm up this week, and then it's supposed to get cold again. So should be out on the water maybe before Christmas, but for sure before New Year's. We haven't been out ice fishing this early since 2017 or 16, I believe. I just had a Facebook memory from the other day that said that we were ice fishing on the 15th of December. So I'm excited. We didn't get to ice fish much last year, so the anticipation is there for this year, especially with colder weather early. And I'm ready to go. I'm already planning what lakes I'm going to go to, where I'm going to fish, looking at my maps, everything like that. A big help for me was the Omnia fishing app. Omnia is like a department store for fishing gear, an outdoor store for fishing gear. They have it on their app, though. They have lake maps, and it's if you pay for it, it's powered by Navionics, and you can see a ton of information. You can see cover type, temperature type, or not temperature type, but like temperature ranges, depth, bottom composition, everything like that. It'll show the depth lines and everything too. So you guys should check that out. It has helped me especially last year in our bass tournaments when my fish finder was down and I had no electronics in the boat. I was able to figure out kind of where we were sitting, how deep of water, everything like that, just by the app on my phone. So that will be in use shortly. I'm excited. I can't wait. Thinking about my perch spots and new walleye spots and the bluegill spots, and it's just getting me excited. Definitely be talking about ice fishing and anything to do with ice fishing in the next few months here. So stay tuned for that. We're going to have some good conversations, and hopefully you guys are able to learn a few things along the way. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you all for listening to the Hunt, Fish, Live podcast. Let me know in the comments what you want to hear this winter as ice fishing is ramping up. Would you like to hear gear reviews or just stories and maybe some interviews? I got a lot of things planned, and you are not going to want to miss it. So make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow along on Spotify. Thanks again, everybody. We will talk to you soon. Good luck out there.